Okay, this is 6.3, solving multi-step inequalities. Okay, I'm going to start off with an application. Let's say Maria, this one you could identify with. Maria got an 85, 81, and I should say a 73 on her first three algebra tests. What score does she need to earn on her fourth test to have an average of at least 80%? So, or at least 80, I should say, to be consistent. This is important because maybe her parents said if you have a A or B average on your test that you could get a car, or we'll pay for your car insurance or gas or something, because it is a lot cheaper for car insurance when students are able to get A and B averages. Insurance companies think that you're a little more responsible, so they tend to give you a little discount, like 10 or 15%, which turns out to be hundreds of dollars, usually per year. So let's start her off. So we don't know what she needs to get, so that is a great thing to let be x. So let's say that x equals her fourth test score. Okay. Now, I think you all know how to find averages. You add up all your scores and then you divide by however many scores there are. And so let's go ahead and do that. So let's add up our scores. So, give me 1 second. So add up our scores. So we got 85 plus 81 plus 73. And the fourth score, we don't know what that is. We're letting that be x. And then we're going to divide by 4. And we want to have at least an average of 80. So we're going to say greater than or equal to 80. All right. So we're going to do the math. So we're going to go ahead and add these numbers up. So if I add, I probably should have done this a little earlier. So I got 85 plus 81 plus 73, so that's going to be 239. So that's going to be 239 plus x divided by 4, and that has to be greater than or equal to 80. And I'm trying to solve for x, so what I want to do is I want to get rid of that 4 on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 4, and of course slightly running out of room. So I multiply by 4, that's going to cancel that out. And that's going to be 239 plus x is greater than or equal to 320. And I'm going to go to the next page. I'll write that step again. 239 plus x. What was it again? Greater than or equal to 320. Okay. Greater than or equal to 320. Now I'm going to solve for x, so I need to get rid of that 239. So I'm going to subtract 239, and that'll be gone. So now x will be greater than or equal to, and we just, of course, just subtract those, 320 minus 239, and we get 81. So she needs at least an 81. So she needs at least an 81, or 81%, however you want to say it. Okay? So there's a good little application where you need some multi-step, skills here. All right, let's say we solve this guy. So first thing is you've got some variables on both sides. So you got to figure out a way to get your variables together if you ever want to isolate them. So you have options. You can either subtract 3x or you can subtract 2x. And I'll go ahead and subtract 2x because I really want it to be a positive x if I can help it. So 3x minus 2x, that's x, just 1x, minus 17 is greater than 14. Still trying to solve for x, so I got to get rid of that minus 17, so I'm doing the opposite. All of our skills in solving equations really pay off again here. So we solve for x, and so x is greater than 31. So that is it. That's your final answer. Next one, example 3. Negative 3x plus 6 divided by 2 is less than or equal to 12. So we want to solve for x. Probably a good idea to get rid of that 2 on the bottom. Some students will try to subtract 6 from both sides. You really cannot do that yet. You need to get rid of that 2 on the bottom. So it's being divided, so we're going to multiply it. Alright, that'll cancel out, and it'll leave us with negative 3x plus 6 is less than or equal to 24. And then we're going to get rid of the plus 6, so we're going to subtract that. And that will be negative 3x is less than or equal to, that should be what, 18. And then we're still trying to solve for x, so it would be great if we just divide by negative 3, and then that'll cancel out, and that'll be x, and on the right hand side it'll be negative 6. We will have to remember something here. We said, oh, we multiplied or divided. We actually divided by negative 3. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative, you always have to remember to reverse the inequality. So we did, and now we got x is greater than or equal to negative 6. That's our final answer. Okay, now a big ugly mama here. Okay, so we got to do, you see those parentheses, you know you got to do some distributing. So distribute, 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 and 3 times 2y, that'll be 6y. And 3 times negative 4, that's negative 12. And then negative 2 times y, so that's minus 2y. And then negative 2 times 1, that's minus 2. And then is greater than 10. This negative sign right here is the one that usually students will forget to distribute. So just got to make sure you do that. All right, so now we have some things to combine, like terms. Now these guys are like terms because they're both y's, and sometimes what students will do is they'll do the opposite operation. So they'll say, hey, I want to get rid of this 6y, so I'm going to subtract 6y, from each side or something like that. That's not what you do when you have things on the same side. You just have to combine them like normal. So 6y is minus 2y, so it's just like 6 minus 2. So it's a positive 4y. So we're going to say 4y. And then the negative 2, the negative 12 and the negative 2, those are just numbers, and they're on the same side, and so you combine them like you normally would add and subtract numbers. So negative 12 minus 2, that is minus 14. And it's still greater than 10. Now we want to try to move things, from one side of the inequality to the other. That's a minus 4, we're trying to get this by itself, the y. So we need to get rid of the minus 14. So let's do the opposite. Let's add 14. So we add 14. That will cancel out, and it'll be 4y is greater than 24. Then we want to isolate the y, so we're going to divide by 4. Divide by 4. And so y will be greater than 6. And that would be our final answer there. Alright, y is greater than 6. Last one. We need to translate and solve. So the directions will say something like write or define a variable, write an inequality, and then solve it. I'm just saying translate and solve for quickness. So the sum of 12 and a number. So we see that word there, sum. We need to know that that's plus. So the sum of what? Well, 12 and a number. Let's use n this time. Is no greater than. So we'll figure out what that is no greater than. And then we got the sum again. So we'll translate that. Twice the number. So that'll be 2n, and then negative 8. So let's go ahead and go to it. So the sum of 12 and a number. So 12 plus a number. Now, is no greater than, excuse me, is less than or equal to. I'm going to give you no greater than $5. You should expect $5 or less than that. So it's less than or equal to. The sum of twice a number, so there's twice a number, and -8. So the sum of twice a number, -8. I don't like that whole plus and negative thing, but I'll just set it up this way just because it was a sum. All right. So we are ready to get some stuff together here. So we got variables on both sides. So let's try to get the n's together. We can either subtract n, or we could subtract 2n. I'm going to go ahead and just subtract n, just to try to keep my variables positive. So that'll cancel out, and this will be 12 on the left-hand side is less than or equal to n minus 8. You know plus and negative is the same thing as minus 8. So now we have the n here. We need to get rid of the 8. So we're going to add 8. So we got plus 8. That's going to make it 20. And that's going to be n. So that's my answer. N is greater than or equal to 20. Or you could say it like this. N is greater than or equal to 20 if you like to have the variable on the left-hand side. You definitely need to know how to read that. Typically, you'll read it from the variable. You'll start it that way. This does say 20 is less than or equal to n, but we prefer to say n is greater than or equal to 20, because if you want to graph it or anything, it's more helpful. All right, that should be good on 6.3.